Well, welcome back to another episode of our medieval Total War campaign as the French in Glorious Achievements mode. We're looking here at Toulouse because when I loaded up the campaign, it briefly occurred to me that maybe I could make use of this English crusade to maybe get my king out of here. I remember reading somewhere, I think it was totalwar.org, forum post from like 20 years ago, that people were talking about this feature where you could actually put troops into another faction's crusade that was moving through your territory. You could basically contribute to the crusade. That seems to be not the case. Was I thinking about something else? Is there some other mechanic that's similar to this that I'm missing? If you know, let me know. But regardless, I can't plop my king in here. Now, I am noticing that I could, because I've linked up a lot of my fleets, I could actually get my king over here right now to Constantinople, let's say. We could put him into Palestine or Tripoli. In fact, I'm kind of curious about Constantinople. My king is in Toulouse because when your king is crowned, he goes to the province with the most buildings. So on the second screen, we've got 1, 2, 4 buildings here. How's Constantinople? Okay, not even really close. So, yeah, it looks like we would continue to be in Toulouse for the crownings. Now, I guess my other option here is to increase some buildings in, Flanders or Ile-de-France, and probably Ile-de-France. The current king is 42, so he's got maybe another 10 years. And we've got about 3 years, so in this episode we should see Prince Jean coming of age, and I think he's going to be the actual heir. Prince Henri is the current heir apparent. But I've been holding off getting him married, in part because he's not super fantastic, but also because I want to make sure I'm marrying to the heir who's going to need to establish a dynasty further on. And so I think that's going to be Prince Jean. So what I can do, I don't have quite enough time though. Let's see, we could add one building here really quickly by building a watchtower. And what else could we throw in? It has to be something that's not an upgrade, so it would have to be like, okay, we could get a trading post. We might be able to do it. I think we could make Ile-de-France the capital again, because a trading post is an entirely separate building tree, a watchtower is a separate building tree, and a horse farmer. None of that stuff, or we wouldn't be able to get enough of them before Prince Jean comes of age, but maybe for the next couple of kings. So I think I'll keep the king here for right now. Now we've got 1,700 men, and it's going to rum in this crusade, and they're probably going to have no trouble at all. In the last episode, though, we discovered that we have a spy in Trebizond who is doing a good bit of work for us by actually undermining the English and incurring a Byzantine revolt here. I don't think that this one is going to do very well. It's got no valor, no command on its leader, but it's nice to know that we still have that option. Okay, so with all of that done, I think we will just end the season. We're building a few ships around the map and trying to eventually come back from our sort of naval punishment at the hands of the Byzantines. They've left the Dromon up here. It's got 0 defense. Let's go see if we can attack it. And it looks like they're actually moving their fleet away. I don't think they have anything in the English Channel, and the big fleet may be moving down here. I guess we'll know if we see it in the Straits of Gibraltar. After that crusade leaves, we'll of course have to see about retraining all of our units. Okay, yep, we're losing another general up here. Okay, so we may need to send an assassin after that Inquisitor, because the papacy has been going a bit nuts here. Alright, the English are actually getting kicked out of Trebizond, and we lost. Okay. Okay, great. We got a ceasefire out of the Byzantines. Nice. Jacques de Molay has acquired the hard sums virtue, which is good. And still not seeing that big Byzantine fleet, but there is still a ship here. Well, one more season we'll be able to try again. Okay, there's the ships. There's the ships. let's go ahead and we'll just keep trying here. We've got the money now. We're up at 17,000, and we're making almost 8,000 a turn. So we can afford just to churn out boats, I think, for quite a while here. And speaking of boats, we actually have a second one in the Sea of Marmara. So let's take the guy with, yeah, with one command. And he can go down here to the Mertune Sea. It's going to open up trade with the Papal States in Greece. And that kind of covers everything. Okay. Ceasefire with the Byzantines. All right, there's that English crusade. Wow, okay. They'll have no trouble at all. So I can relax a little bit to my east, but it may become sort of a non-issue pretty soon. Well, at least we're... Actually, no, we're not trading at all with them because they don't have any ports anymore. Wow. Okay, so we're at least theoretically poised to be able to do some trading. Do we trade over land? It's interesting because we do get an income even with a totally landlocked province via trade, but I don't think that income is dependent on having any neighbors necessarily. I could be wrong about that, but like I don't think it matters. Like if I were to build a trading post here, or in Ile-de-France for that matter, you know, it's not going to matter if we're completely surrounded by a faction that we're at war with. I think that is still going to produce the same amount of income. It's not actually trading with the next door province. It's just kind of local stuff. All right, well, at least the crusade is out of here. And so now we can think about rebuilding. Looking at the Cav, we're still, it's, yeah, we're going to need to go up here quite a bit. So the Royal Court, then the Royal Estate is what we're going to need to do in order to get feudal knights. And then that baronial court is going to be required for the chivalric knights. So we're going to be moving up along that. I guess we can just queue it up so we don't forget. Okay, and we didn't actually... Okay, then, yeah, that's... Still needs to be resolved. And yeah, let's go for another ship down here, too. We're going to need to fight some naval battles, which will be annoying. But so the other thing I'm thinking about... Alright, the Spanish are establishing their navy. And so we'll have to watch for opportunities here. Because my guess is, based on what we've seen... The Spanish are building up along the borders, right? In fact, they're actually pulling back in Sinai, which is encouraging. And maybe it suggests that their build-up here is really aimed at the English. That would be nice. Because I'd love the Spanish to overextend themselves a little bit, kind of get out of my face, and maybe open up some stuff. Because look at this, right? Aquitaine is full, but Aragon is not. And, like, I could almost take Aragon. Alright, let's just do a bunch of merging here. And I know that I'm losing some of the units by doing this. That's fine. Doesn't matter to me anymore. A lot of these guys will just even disband this. Truly Pious, Adultery, Gentle Knight. I mean, I guess. Maybe we will retrain him. Because it is nice to have our sort of the odd high valor unit or high morale unit. That morale, though, from that trait is only going to apply to him because he is not a, he's not going to be a general of anything. All right, Jacques de Molay. This is actually a pretty good opportunity. Secret heretic, but hard sums. So really good acumen, and we'll make him the Count of Toulouse. So 796 becomes 1230. So 400 plus. Very nice there. And what else do we want to do here? And Robert de Molay, Pious Master of Numbers. Interesting. So we've got a bunch of de Molays. Okay, I'll keep him around as well. And let's go for another crossbow unit, I guess. There. Things up here look pretty decent. You know, we've got a couple of just random archers. Really good generals here. I guess I could retrain them. Oh, we can't even build Royal Knights. All right, fair enough. We'll get another archer, and we'll top up these things. Can't even get Hobilars. Well, we will eventually. Alright, the English are even taking rum before their Crusadius there. And we lost that battle too. Shoot. Alright, more ships are on the way. It looks like they've got 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 or maybe 6 ships in the English Channel. And I'm not seeing another big presence here, so we'll just, you know, kind of keep doing this. I really want to get them... Oh, wait. Did I just start a war with the Byzantines? Like, damn it. Was that my bad? That was entirely my bad. All right, let's try that again. It's one thing to look at the purple and think, okay, we got peace with these people, and then it's over here. You look at all the purple of the ships, and it seems like a completely different thing for some reason. So that's entirely my fault. You know, the AI does that sort of thing all the time, though, right? Especially on the other games. It'll just say, okay, yeah, we'll get peace, and then the next turn it'll just hit you with a random boat. So I'm just picking up some tricks from the AI. Just think of it that way. All right, Ile-de-France, yeah, let's go for a trading post. Let's get a watchtower. Let's get a horse farmer. And we'll make Ile-de-France the place that is likely to be the capital. Flanders is working on a fortress. Brittany's working on guns. Champagne, you know, we get up to the castle level. I guess I should be able to, you know, start making some units out of this. So let's go like Town Watch and then the horse breeder. And we'll keep going up the usual paths. Here, let's go for a church. We can get bishops if we feel like it. And in Cyprus, what do I want? You know, a bell foundry, because I think in Cyprus you need a bell foundry in order to get ships with like special gunpowder stuff. I may be wrong about this, but I think the sort of like the cannon type buildings may be required for some higher level ships. For Palestine, though, still able to recruit mercenaries here, despite being at the Citadel level. All right, let's go for, you know, heavy armor. We're gonna get Templars out of here, and we get 73% zeal. So one would think that we would be on a good track to get some nice crusades going. Alright, he's been moving in and out. I was going to get him last turn, but he wasn't around, so I didn't bother, but now he's come back. Okay, good. More unrest. Prince Jean. And the Egyptians reappear. Nice, okay. I mean, you know, that could be difficult for me, and for now it looks pretty small, only a single province being attacked. Alright, Byzantines are they just want to be done. Alright, so we'll try to remember that. Stop attacking their ships. Irritable Great Warrior. Okay, that's good. Where is he? Right here? Okay, yeah. We're losing the acumen that we once had. That was once such a prominent feature of the French royal family. Very high acumen. And now this dolt, this chinless wonder here, is not passing on the good genes. So... That's fine. And yes, Prince John, 16 years old, is the heir apparent now. So we could, you know, try balancing things out, and let's move him over to like we could put him in Crete, I guess. And so what would happen then is, if he is crowned, yeah, what am I thinking? So I was getting very confused here. The number of buildings in a province does not dictate where an heir will mature. He will appear in the same province as his father when he comes of age. So that's why he was appearing here. When he dies, however, and his heir accepts the throne, the king is crowned in the province with the most buildings. So that should happen here. We should quickly get a good number of buildings in Ile-de-France to surpass that in Toulouse and allow us to have our kings more reliably crowned in the center of our realm. Okay, so that's good. I'm remembering it again. And now we're just building ships so that we can have trade again. We'll get them all around the Iberian Peninsula. We'll get them up towards the Skagerrak. Still only 2 ports in the Baltic Sea, but North Sea is actually looking quite fancy with ports, so we'll keep cranking those out. All right, Constantinople, though. I have to be careful not to overdo it down here. Yeah, let's get one more ship. Like, these types of things are the thing, like the Chancellery, the Admiralty, and then like the, you know, the military college and those types of things. Those are buildings that will take up a separate slot down here and may make it so that your guys are gonna, you know, your king is gonna be crowned there rather than somewhere else. So if possible, you want to build these types of buildings in the place you want your kings to be crowned. But a really nice option here would be a trade building, or we could continue upgrading the royal court so that we can maybe get some knights someday. We've got the highest level of, you know, stables, so that's not going to be a problem for us. It's just building up the estate buildings to get knights. So Antioch, you know, let's go for it. 8,000. It's going to take 20 years. We'll have a fortress there. And things are unsettled enough that I don't think people are going to be looking for me as a target. We've got the Egyptians re-emerging. We've got the Golden Horde in the area to the north and in Arabia. We've got the Byzantines and the English fighting amongst each other. So we should be able to build that in peace, I'm thinking. Alright, that's one of mine. That's why you gotta keep building ships. And Prince Louis. Alright. Got another son. King Charles V is at least a builder. %75% zeal. I'm gonna have to watch it because there's some hidden ceiling on the zeal percentage, and when you reach that ceiling, your Inquisitor starts burning the population. Now, I don't know exactly what that does. It may lead to a sort of decrease in loyalty. That's not really going to be a problem, but it is an annoying message to receive at the end of the turn, so I like to avoid it if I can. Alright, we can get Demiculverin towers here. Yeah, that seems cool. Let's do it. I think you got to be careful with some of these options, though, because they can damage your own castle walls. So. And there's Prince Louis. He's got a little bit of acumen. Good for him. Maybe we can stow him in Constantinople, another heavy cav unit in case we need it. If we do get attacked there, we're going to be screwed because there's just a lot going on. But the Byzantines, wow, they've got a really good presence in Trebizond. Let's move a bishop to Armenia. See how it does there. Yeah, the English are having a hard time over here, which is just as well. I could, you know, think about switching allegiance here. And, you know, kind of maybe precipitating an English war. Let's see, do we have an emissary? Typically no, because they get assassinated. So let's make one... Ah, we can make one in Constantinople, I guess. There are some Byzantine... There may be another place I can get one. There are some Byzantine princesses right in the area. So if I can remember... He doesn't get one. Okay. So it's going to have to be Constantinople. It's going to be a little while. Or actually Toulouse. Yeah, let's do that. Let's get a couple going. And they really do. He moves that Inquisitor out. I don't know where he moves it to. He just pops over for a quick burning and then leaves. So what I ought to do though is get like a bishop, maybe a cardinal up there. Because that interferes with Inquisitor's works. Okay, the Egyptians are the most happy. Well, that's unsurprising. They've probably got like several stacks in a single province. Okay, let's get, yeah, Cardinal Bishop. And we'll send them both up there. So for Brittany, do we want to go... Let's go Armorer. Okay, 2 ports here. And otherwise, that's fine. We can start to stretch out here now. Actually, no, we just got to refill the Dodecanese Sea outside of Rhodes. Okay, so the Spanish own Malta. Interesting. Let's move a bishop onto it. See if it's a vulnerable place for spies. Oh, that's bad. Trading post destroyed. So not even half income. It's going to be much worse than that. But for some reason we're getting cash from the Pope. All right, it's about time. 1,000 florins. And I have no idea why this is the case. Not sure. Why do we get that money? Is it because we're not doing that well? It could be. I mean, we're doing okay. We're still not winning in Glorious Achievements points technically, but we're gonna win. We're gonna start beating them pretty soon. The Byzantines in terms of points. All right, let's get a marriage here. Prince Jean to Princess Zoe. And then if that goes through, maybe I'll go for an alliance. Okay, so I know Rum is just occupied by the English. Let's check the Egyptians. The Egyptians are not at war with anybody. So this must have been a rebel province that they attacked. Alright, yeah, let's go for Citadel. We'll gradually start working up our castles on the islands. Another 1,000. All right. Okay. Byzantines are very open at this point, which makes sense. You know, I do like that about this game. The diplomacy kind of makes sense, you know, with the caveats that these factions are programmed to kind of want to win, I guess. They do seem to go after the glorious achievements at least a little bit, go after their homelands and things. Certainly go after their crusade targets. So if you kind of factor that in, it makes sense that the Byzantines at this point, you know, wouldn't necessarily want to have yet another enemy. They want to survive. I probably don't hold any territories that they need for victory. Well, except Constantinople. So maybe I can't trust them for that long, but they gave me a daughter anyway, so now my line feels a bit more secure. All right, let's get both of these guys up here so we can maybe end the executions. Okay, actually, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is it. Ile-de-France is surpassing Toulouse now in number of provinces, and so it should be all set to take over when we actually get another king. So he should be arriving there for the crowning. Yeah, right. Let's go for a Boyar's Guild. I want to get a good variety of everything there. And here we're just working up the line to get to the really good cav. Yes, now we need to rebuild that trading post, which was destroyed in the earthquake. Public order seems fine, though. Loyalty's still at 200%. We get a lot of people here. But yeah, let's go ahead and build another ship. And because we've got lots of caravels lying around, this is going to make you know, extending our network just so much easier, right? Because we can move a couple you know, shifts at a single time. And look at this. So this ship started in the Malta Channel here, but it can get as far as the Straits of Gibraltar in a single move because the Western Mediterranean counts as a sea province that he can enter. So 1, 2. So this is going to give us a couple more ports open to our goods. One more season for another caravel there and another here, and that's going to give us 1, 2, and we'll be almost basically around the Iberian Peninsula with the exception of the Gulf of Cadiz, which is still worth getting because of just the sheer number of rich exotic trade ports that we have access to and control. All right, the Egyptians look pretty strong right where they are compared to the other people in the neighborhood. The Pope is peeling units off of Bulgaria and moving it to where? Alright, they still got a decent force in Nicaea, it looks like. Okay, Hungary. Wow, 3rd in a row. Oh, good luck. English going for Armenia. This is very frustrating because it's probably going to move right through my territory again. And how many men are in this thing? 839. Yeah. All right, let's make sure we get some loyal guys here. And we actually do. So if I take you out. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 really strong units. Let's disband you, I don't really care anymore. What do we need to get? Well, there's nothing too fantastic here. Obviously, this is all, you know, this is not going to cut it, but I think we want to get up to the at least feudal knights before we start training some more units. And, you know, crossbowmen, we got 4. You don't really need like 8 crossbowmen. Obviously, I guess it's good to have some for reinforcements. Up here, too, we're still fairly limited. Like, I guess we're at the point now where I could start supporting, like, a bunch of extra chivalric men-at-arms up here. Alright, Germany's making a move. That's kind of nice to see. And here comes the English Crusade, yeah. right. All right, we have to allow it to pass or we'll be excommunicated. So, yes. 4,000 from the Pope. And yeah, look at that. It's just so annoying, just having to do the little micromanagement. But we are at a new point for glorious achievements, a new homelands phase. All of the provinces are the same that we need, so Normandy, Anjou, Provence, Burgundy, and nothing else has been added. I think conquest, it's 5-1, not a great trade, but we are surpassing the Byzantines and we're going to be pulling further and further ahead. However, the Spanish are creeping up on us, and they are slated to surpass us. So if nothing changes, the Spanish are going to beat us. So the question is, how do we approach this? We look at our provinces. We've got 3, 5 here, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We've got 11 provinces. Spanish have 2, let's say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 or so provinces, and there may be more. They may have conquered elsewhere. So the Spanish outnumber us in terms of provinces. Now, there is some calculation that the game uses to determine whether the Pope will like you attacking a fellow Catholic or whether he will not like it. Now, typically he doesn't like it, but he especially doesn't like it if you are a big faction attacking a smaller Catholic faction. That is pretty much a recipe for an instant excommunication warning. So I could get away with it, maybe a couple of turns of fighting, and maybe even winning against the Spanish before I get the excommunication warning. Now, the problem with that is if I don't deal with the army before I get the warning, then I will have to either keep fighting or pause and not do anything. And meanwhile, the Spanish are free to hit me as much as they want, and all I could do is defend provinces that I own. I can't sort of counterattack to take back a province. So the Spanish are in a really strong position, obviously, right up here to do that. To just be a thorn, because I could, theoretically, I could get a bunch of troops together in Toulouse and go bam into Aragon, Castile, Cordoba, and just like trash their sort of central provinces. But honestly, Navarre, Valencia, Aquitaine itself can still train some pretty good troops. Same thing with Grenada, Morocco, I would imagine. Algeria's got a fortress, for crying out loud. You never see the AI build up this well. So on the one hand, it's really, really kind of cool to see. But it does make it tricky. So, starting a war when you're a Catholic faction against another Catholic does have that sort of big question you have to answer. Am I willing to start a war and either stop when the Pope says, or, should I ignore that warning and accept the excommunication? Am I able to deal with that? Well, I don't know. We've got this massive crusade here. Okay, actually, no. They've stuck around. Zeal is 50. They've actually lost a lot of men. So this is going to Armenia. Did they try to attack someplace and fail? I would think no way. So did they just lose like half of their troops by getting into my province and spending a turn? Interesting. Oh yeah, typical emissary death. Fair enough. Armorers Guild finished in Palestine. Let's see what else we can build there. Okay, here's the crusade now, wrecking my Palestine forces. 1562. So they picked up a bunch of my guys here, as you can see. Not that I had anything great here. But let's go, yeah, chivalric sergeants, I guess. Or no, monastery is going to give... And again, it's a little tricky. I don't want to build too much stuff in Palestine, but monastery is going to help with morale. So that'll be good for all the crusade units that are trained up there. And in Tripoli, okay, we can get arquebuses here. All right, and here we go. Yes, the cannons require both, sometimes both of these buildings as well as the foundries. So let's go with a bell foundry for a bombard crew. Here we'll go to a merchant. And I need to check as well who the Germans are at war with. I think it's just the Polish at this point. Alright, nice big Byzantine counterattack. Okay. Alright, I want to check the zeal now in Palestine. We hit the mark. Yeah, okay, so 57. So now he's going to start kind of over. You can see how he's standing up now. So he's sort of inquisiting people just at random, going all over the province, I suppose. So this dropped by like 20 or so percentage points, and it's going to gradually build back up again. So that's fine. Okay, they moved into Syria, 1,500 men. I don't know, man. It looks like the Egyptians successfully took Rum, at least for the moment. Let's see, I guess I don't have any agents up here in Trebizond. I can move the one from Edessa. I don't need him there. Get him into Rum for the visibility. So the Germans basically taking Poland, with the exception of, is it Wallachia? Or Carpathia? Okay, great. Unrest in Syria behind the English, who did successfully take Armenia. Wow. And their crusade succeeded, so that's the end of Armenia, at least for the moment. You know, the Egyptians do have you know, a strong-ish force. Well, we could cause some trouble here. Did we have a spy, or did we lose him? I guess we must have lost him. Let's check out the spies. Yeah, Flanders, we got one. Constantinople with 3 stars. He's been doing good counter-spying work. So this situation with the Germans, let's see. They're only at war with the Polish. That's it. We could ally with them, I suppose. Are they excommunicated? No. They're all good. Which is kind of surprising. So it looks like they've got the Polish down to just Carpathia, probably. They might be a decent ally. You know, I'm really glad to see that they're sort of out again. And maybe performing a bit of a, you know, a block function against the papacy and the English. And I would like to believe that the papacy has kind of reached, you know, the maximum point of its expansion. You know, like maybe it'll run into some public order problems if it gets too far out. But I just don't know at this point. Well, okay, we wanted to check Malta. Okay, there's nothing here. So let's get a spy. And just drop him down here and see what can be done. There's some orthodoxy on the island. I'll go ahead and move my bishop out then, and we'll just kind of do the same thing. Peering around. This is 200. This is probably 200. Let's just keep cranking out spies for a little while. And we'll get them all around the sort of the Spanish, likely Spanish places for a revolt. Let's see if we can get that to happen. Maybe do the same thing, you know, in papal-held territories that are lightly held. Although they don't seem very vulnerable to unrest at the moment. And we've still got the Golden Horde. I mean, the English doing yet another crusade, probably against Rum. Oh, Swordsmith. Okay. Yep. Banking houses. Okay, so this is, I guess, an event that increases trade income. I'm not sure how I would sort of measure that. You know, like, what are we making here for trade right now in Constantinople? Yeah, 3,000? I don't know. I don't know how that compares because I wasn't, you know, tracking this, but I think that is one of those events that does have an impact. All right, well, let's bring our ship over to Malta once again. We could go down here. You know, all of these places have Spanish ships too. We just need sort of the opportunity, potentially, to jump on a hole in their naval empire, if and when the time comes. Like, let's say they hit the English and then get excommunicated, right? We want to be ready to send a crusade through some channel. All right, Princess Joan. Let's get her up here, see what Pomerania is. And, yeah, so now we got Royal Knights at least. These are the High Era Royal Knights. And with this, we'll get Feudal Knights. So 6 more years for that. And Ile-de-France, I guess. So yeah, trade, landlocked trade is going to be pretty small. I think Ile-de-France only has grain anyway. We can increase that a little bit. But let's do horse breeder. And then we'll get to like the royal estate stuff. We want to have armor, I guess, pretty much everywhere at this point. And Palestine, yeah. Okay, so the swordsmith, that was only the, you know, the tier 1 building anyway, but we're going to get ravaged by another crusade here in a second, it looks like. All right, they're going to Aquitaine, and they're probably going to come right next door next turn. Okay, yeah. Another spy. Down to Tunisia. Or no, it was Algeria. Yeah. Let's do that. Right, Tunisia is... We'll keep the bishop there. Actually, we don't need him here because we can see into it. We know that they've got a border for it. I just have to remember that. So where could the other bishop be useful? Portugal just looks so poorly built up that I, you know, want to believe there's no border forts there. I know there were. Last time I checked. What do we got here? Let's, 4147. Yeah, let's go for more trade. And in Tripoli. So now we could look at stuff like this. Yes, okay. So Shipbuilders Guild and the Cannon Foundry gets us cogs. We do not have the Shipbuilders Guild yet, and in fact, that may require... Shipbuilders Guild needs compass, which we do have. Maybe we need the fortress. I kind of don't think so. Let's go for this anyway, and we'll just see. Tripoli's pretty close to getting everything we need for I imagine, cogs. There may be some other date that needs to pass. Maybe it needs to be a late era thing. I think I remember something like this before, where cogs would sort of show up as a ship you can build, but it's later than you would expect. Okay, not a great sign, Germany. Try to keep hold. Alright, Spanish king is dead. He's got a new king. We've got a 5,000. Okay, spies caught and killed. Let's see, are we up above 5 yet? No, still at 5. Still, that's pretty good. This is just so depressing. 1,400 men. Alright, we could ally with the Byzantines right now. They're allied with the Golden Horde. They're allied with the Egyptians. The English are allied with the Pope and the Spanish, right? So this could open up a lot of problems for us, right? Like, we need to get this territory. All 3 of these. And we also want Aquitaine and we want Provence. But every time, as you've seen, I try to build up forces here, and then we're just getting whittled away by these really annoying English crusades. Now we can stop it by hitting their chapter house, right? Like by taking Anjou. And I don't know if they have another chapter house somewhere else. Oh, they do. They got it in Normandy. But, you know, if we took both of those places, they may be limited. Here's one, though, in Northumbria. But, I mean, if we're at war with them, right, then that doesn't really matter so much. All right, let's get spies moved into English places. Maybe we can try something on the mainland, too. We want to get Lorraine. And also, we can't just sit, because remember, the Spanish are going to catch up to us here. We've got a full line and 3. They've got a full line and another full line, and then, like, another couple. So they're doing great. They're conquering a lot. They get more conquest than we do, and they get more points on their homelands. Or, well, it's just that we don't have all the homelands we need. Actually, if we got all of our homelands, we would be doing fantastic. If it wasn't for the Crusades, you know, moving through Toulouse, I would really feel like, okay, I can kind of build up. I can get a force ready and we can kind of do this, you know. But let's go ahead and build a bunch of chivalric. Actually, we'll do 4, and then we'll get some arbalesters going, and we'll use that and we'll kind of replace the units we have here, or just, you know, we may be able to afford all of it at this point. And we'll get ready. We'll just see if we can do a big hit. Now, I really, really don't want to hit the English while the Spanish are here looking like this. You know, because they're going to see that, and I will just completely seal them off here so that they can't, assuming the attack goes perfectly, right? Assume I am completely able to take these English provinces, and it's no trouble at all, and the Pope doesn't mind, and he sides with me instead of the English, right? Which he might not do, but assume that all goes well, we still have this. And then the Spanish realize that now they only share a border with me over here. And over here, as a matter of fact. So why don't they just move in and hit me next? And I don't think I'm ready for that. So, you know, the way to win the game is to get the homeland points. But also, to win the game, you have to not die. You have to not lose militarily. And I am very concerned about that. We've got a big Spanish navy, really, I assume, capable of wrecking my fleets, although I could do a lot of damage to them too. But these are real threats. So what I'm kind of waiting for, as you know, is I'm waiting for, you know, a good opportunity here. Well, let's do this. We'll get money anyway. That'll be nice to connect everything. And then we can move our king back up to Ile-de-France right now if we want. Or next year anyway. Okay, that was the monastery here. So now we get inquisitors in Palestine. Yeah, let's get another ship. I mean, we've got a good, military capabilities at various places. The challenge will be, if we go to war with Spanish, is getting them anywhere. So we'll need to work up our naval stuff. So hopefully we will be able to do that, so we can like win a naval war and then hit them, in their heartlands. So I guess that's going to have to be the plan for next time. I was hoping that we would get, at the end of this episode, get to the point where we've got some respectable forces in Toulouse, and we can, put an army together that could theoretically hold, if not credibly threaten, the Spanish, or at least some of our other neighbors, and then think about making a move. But making a move now, really, really rough. Typically, the AI is going to present an opportunity, and so maybe I just need to be patient for that. It's 1283. We've got not 200 years, but kind of close, before the end of the game, like 170 turns, I guess. So we've got a good long while, and in about 40 years, which isn't that far away, we will be into the late era, which gives us some different units, yet again, some different ship types, I think, more gunpowder stuff. So, we could, just by holding our horses, be in a relatively strong position, especially if something happens, like there's some dynasty disruption, or a couple of factions go to war, and then we can choose the moment to pounce. So, as much as I love this, sort of like this tense kind of build up and waiting what to do, it's trying my patience at the moment. Maybe for you viewers as well, I imagine. So let me know what you think would be the best option here, because I'm not quite seeing it at the moment. My instincts are just wait, build up, try to do some subterfuge stuff, and then see if there's a chance, and then go for it. Right now I'm thinking, okay, if I get into war with the English, maybe I take Normandy, maybe I take Burgundy, right? I take these places that are relatively easy to get and don't open up a front with the Spanish. But that's a huge risk, right? Gets the Spanish potentially going after me. So anyway, curious to see your feedback, and I'm curious to see how this develops further. So I'll see you in the next one. Take care until then.